It's Mike Stibbs.
Just make sure it sounds sexy, Stibbs.
Lord Almighty, how can you stand Arizona? Your fair skin must be burning down into your absent soul. Mike, 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 we can barely hear you. It sounds to me like you called us from inside a hole. But your phone calls lift me higher, like the ERA of Mark Pryor. Your hair looks like it's on fire. You're Mike Ferrin. You're just a hunk of burning love.
Yes, we are live.
You're just a hunk of burning love.
TV.
You're just a hunk of
Where
burning
today,
love.
the left side of the screen is at home, and the right side of the screen is in our studio here. And I'm getting feedback, George, if you can fix that for us.
He's just fading it down nice and slow.
No, I meant feedback from me.
We don't want your feedback.
No one needs my feedback. You're going to get plenty of my feedback over the next month and a half or week and a half.
I am. This is the week that I miss you guys the most coming up because it has been now 6 years, I think 7 years since I've been to the College World Series. 2015 was the last time.
Dang.
Yeah, when Virginia won, right?
Yeah, that was the last time I was there, which is just like, it's a bummer. I see all this stuff on like the promo at the bottom of RIP Stibbs TV and the like over at the site and making Josh talk baseball for 7 or 8 minutes at a time, and hanging out with Damon, who only wants to talk baseball. So like, I miss you guys. I miss the College World Series an awful lot.
Mike, does that mean you've been with the Diamondbacks since 2016?
Yeah, this is my 6th year.
Oh my gosh, time, man, it is flying.
I know, it's crazy.
Time sucks. I'm out on time. I think I've decided that. I don't like time anymore.
Time. Agree or disagree?
402-951-1620.
Yeah, and by the way, you made a mistake, Mike. You said you're forcing Josh to talk baseball. This is the only sports pregame show in media that doesn't talk about the sport it's previewing. So you just gave Josh another topic.
That's not true. Every local radio station doesn't talk about baseball for their pregame show. The NFL exists.
Exactly. Also, Mike's not wrong, though. We'll still do 7 or 8 minutes with Eric Sorensen, Kendall Rogers, and a variety of like other people, but only once a day. Just one time a day, we'll talk baseball.
When you see Kendall, ask him how he got his tip on Willie Bloomquist getting the ASU job.
Okay.
And who he told may have been nuts for suggesting it. Just ask him.
Okay.
Out of the blue, ask him. He's like, hey, who gave you the tip on Willie Bloomquist? And why did you think they were crazy?
I will ask him that question.
Write it down.
If I remember.
As we were talking about in the last segment, the enforcement now is official. We got the statement. We got the release earlier today for Major League Baseball. Does Major League Baseball need a big catch to prove a point? It's one thing to say you're going to do something, and obviously they are going to do something, but do you need like a catch? Do you need the Untouchables moment where you get the photograph of the guy being nabbed to really send the point home to the rest of the sport?
I don't know. I mean, did the steroid testing need? Who was the first big guy to test positive? Rafael Palmeiro to test positive to prove that it was working. I don't know. I think some of this is. I mean, I think overall the idea is a good one, right? I mean, you have certainly had what was supposed to be something to help pitchers just be able to grip the ball turned into something that's significantly better. The reason why you turned a blind eye to it into something that's significantly different. And the fact that there have been teams that have been encouraging players to do it, I think is really, that's beyond the pall. I think the one thing that I haven't really seen yet is what the punishment will be like for teams that have repeat offenders, because that to me is the thing that stands out. The teams need to have some sort of enforcement beyond that too, whether it's general manager suspensions or enormous fines or whatever it is. But I think, I wonder how much in the end this is really going to impact the way the game is played, because I don't think it's going to change velocity that much. I know what they said in the release, but I don't, where is correlation and where is causation? They talked about the hit by pitch rate being, extremely high, and that's true. But Rob Arthur at Baseball Prospectus about 6 weeks ago did a study on this showing that hitters were driving the hit by pitch this year, that pitchers weren't missing their spots by more than they had in the past, and it was more hitters either leaning out over the plate or being closer to the plate that was helping to drive the hit by pitch totals some too. So I think they're moderately transparent in what they've said. I think there's probably going to be some adjustment overall. And I think, just like with any, performance enhancing drug testing policy, if somebody gets caught, it means that the policy is working. So I think all of those things factor into it. But I do relish the idea of, like, I don't know, Greg Gibson going full Enrico Palazzo and like patting down everybody before they go, like the scene in The Naked Gun, right? Like, so they're going to the dugout doing the full pat down on them. So, that'll be neat. But overall, I mean, I think hopefully it brings a little bit of balance, but it's only one part of the issue. I cannot hear you, Josh.
Oh, George, you need to unmute. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Am I good to go now? Mike,
Yes.
you mentioned correlation and causation. I guess, what do you think is, like, what is good then mean coming out of this with these new rules in terms of the average fan? Is it batting averages continuing to rise? I know that they're up a little bit over the last week or so. Like, what does this mean in terms of, as me as a fan watching, saying, awesome, this rule is working? Or is this something you think that we'll even be able to notice on the day-to-day?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think, as much as there's been this, hey, the batting average is up over the last 11 or 12 days, whatever, since that meeting. I mean, generally offenses go up in June anyway, right? So how much, again, causation because people are scared of this, or correlation? Sirius and Britt Giroli had a good article in The Athletic this morning that they said that they think that there are 2 starting pitchers and 9 relievers that have stopped using tack based on their research of, their spin rates, decreasing by 2 standard deviations. So, like, I think, I don't know. I mean, I think more than anything, it's the feeling that, hitters generally aren't the ones who complain. Pitchers complain about everything. Hitters generally aren't the ones that complain, and they've been complaining a lot. And so, like, the fact that you at least get the feeling that the playing field is a little bit more level, that would be good. If the batting average goes up and the strikeout rate goes down and offense increases a little bit, all of that is a real positive too. But I think more than anything, regardless of what the results look like, the fact that they're doing it, I think, is the right thing.
Spider tack is like the most lethal weapon. But baseball says they're going to enforce it all, which includes the rosin sunscreen combination. Is this where the enforcement could be the most judgmental? Because I can imagine, as we're in the humid months of the year, especially in a lot of the outdoor places in Chicago and Detroit and, the places where it can get really sticky this time of year, where guys start to, sweat a lot, and then you accidentally get that sunscreen rosin combination on the ball. Could you see a development there where someone will say, well, no, I wasn't trying to do this, but hey, it's a hot day. I can't help myself.
I mean, I guess then that's up for the appeal when they get suspended. But I mean, the reason why they're doing, I don't think the league really wants to ban that combination, the sunscreen and rosin, which has been used for years and years. I think they are probably okay with that. The problem is that the umpires ask them to do it because in real time, it's very difficult to determine, if someone is using a foreign substance, what's the significance of the substance? It's not like they're going to be able to go out there and do a chemical test on it to see whether or not it's, spider tack or something else that might fit on that list of approved. I think what ends up happening is that you see, everything enforced theoretically through the rest of the year. And then in collective bargaining, there's some sort of substance that is approved that both sides agree is worth using to be able to give pitchers a little bit of a grip. And that's where they go from there, because that's the Players Association has already said. And I get it from the umpire standpoint too, right? Like, you don't have that much time to be able to enforce this. So, like, you can't be trying to figure out, is this spider tack or is it firm grip or is it bullfrog or is it, a spray tan, or did somebody put off on because there are a lot of mosquitoes in Cleveland? Like, I don't know. So I don't fault the umpires for asking for it that way.
Mike, kind of along those lines, and you mentioned like the rest of the year, is this going to be something that you think legitimately happens all the way through October? Because we see in all sorts of sports, right, where it's like, we're going to place an emphasis on this new rule change. And early on, we're all like, oh my gosh, they're calling pass interference at a level we've never seen before. And then it eventually levels off and it's pretty normal. What do you think happens with this by the time we get to September and October?
Yeah, I don't know. I think based on the way things are written, they'll be trying to enforce it throughout the rest of the year. They'll be doing these tests. They'll be doing all this stuff, just trying to check and make sure that everybody is, doing it. But you're right. I mean, there tends to be a level of complacency. And if players can sense that, then, do they try to circumvent the rules? I don't know. I mean, I think we'll find out as we go along, but I would think, maybe there are more frequent tests, because the way the rule is written is like the starters are going to be checked at least once, and every reliever is going to be checked as they're coming out of the game. Right. So, if let's say that starts to wane in August and into September, well, what happens if all of a sudden on like September 15th, Joe West decides to check somebody in the middle of a pennant race, and it turns out that they've been using because they hadn't been checked in a long time? Is that enough of a deterrent? I don't know. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, apparently there's going to be pat downs now. So get ready. It's going to be like going through. I mean, baseball players don't have to go through TSA generally unless they're traveling to Toronto. So
it's like me, John, when we went to Colorado.
Oh yeah, Josh got violated.
John's walking all through there, and they're like, "Hey, take off your clothes." I'm like, "What in the world?"
Should have paid for pre-check.
I did. I paid for it.
That's the best part. The best part is Josh had pre-check, so that meant I got through, but Josh was the one that got taken off.
I had a new driver's license, Mike, and it was a stupid paper one. I just turned 31 or whatever, 31. I don't know.
What, do you get a paper driver's license at 30? Is that like the anniversary gift?
I have no idea. Our state is stupid with that crap. When I turned 16, I got a plastic driver's license like the rest of the state, and now
you got a temp. You got a temp. They didn't have. They didn't have the laminator was busted or something. I don't know.
No, that's what they do now. It's so annoying. Dumb. Anyway, back to baseball.
The Dodgers were ID'd, as being one of the teams that's seen a heavy increase in spin rate in that SI story a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Are there other teams across the sport that might be a little more nervous than others?
Well, I mean, I think the other name that comes to mind right away is Houston, because that was who, Trevor Bauer singled out. And I think that story listed a couple of other teams with it. But, I think that there probably are some teams where it was encouraged to use that either coaches or staff or whatever said, hey, listen, you can increase this if you use this. And I guess they should be nervous if they're going to keep doing it. But if they stop by Monday, then no. I think what's going to be more interesting is to see how guys react over the course of the next 5 or 6 days. Like, you got a starter throwing a bullpen session without tack. What's that going to feel like? How are they going to feel? What's their confidence level going to be like going out on the mound without that? I mean, I guess we'll find out, but it doesn't sound like any punishment is coming for any action that's happened to this point or that will happen before June 21st. It's when we get to Monday, that's when everything, let's roll. Longest day of the year. Longest day of the year.
Longest day.
Josh, Mike, I'm writing your jokes for you now.
Mike, as we talked about, John is supposedly out on the Chicago Cubs this year, and as you
say that, I'm just not going. I'm just not going gaga
out on him.
Now, here's what I'm worried about, Mike, as they continue to play good baseball, is that when he returns from the high above Patera Landscaping broadcast booth in a couple of weeks, that he will start living and dying with each and every one of their games as they're on during the program. How concerned should I be that the Cubs playing good baseball is here to stay, and thus we'll have to deal with this all the way into, mid-October?
Well, I mean, I think that division is certainly winnable, and I think they're in a position to be able to win it. I mean, I think, I really like Milwaukee still. I mean, I think Milwaukee's pitching is very good. I think we talked about it. The Adames trade was a great one. We're going to look back we should be looking back now and being like, hey, how did they get this guy? Take the damn cup down, will you? I cannot stare at the Cubs logo all day. But I think that they have a chance to stay in the mix. I mean, I think they've got a good offense. Their bullpen's pretty good. Their starters are throwing below the. I don't need to know about your sinus infection either. I just know why you're working at home.
I'm just going to hold up random things that are on my table here. Here's an empty container of Tic Tacs.
I have a pen.
Here's a peanut butter egg from Easter that for some reason is still here and I haven't touched it.
Half eaten. I have a coffee mug.
You have a coffee mug? What does Josh have?
I have some football cards, I think. Can I open it on the air?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
They're all open. Never mind.
By the way, while we've interrupted the answer, because I mean, who cares? It's the Cubs anyway. Let's answer this question from listener Mike.
Oh,
This is John wearing a nightie. No, it's an old Cubs T-shirt that apparently the collar has lost its integrity. So it's just kind of drooping here. So I'm not wearing a nightie, but it is a Cubs shirt.
I thought it was a muumuu.
It could be a muumuu, but I ain't gonna stand up. So because I'm not wearing pants.
Interesting comment from one of our viewers. What a fun, cool comment.
Yes, thank you, Mike, for that fun, cool.
Get
comment.
a job, that one.
It must be nice just to sit there on your couch eating bonbons all day. It's just
what a life he lives.
I'm curious, who is the best team in baseball right now, and is that different in your opinion from the team who maybe has put together the best resume so far this year?
Yeah, I mean, I still think the Dodgers are the best team, and they don't have the best record. So I think that to me there's the difference. I mean, Tampa Bay's pretty good, although they got some pretty terrible news today on Tyler Glasnow, a partial UCL tear and a flexor tendon strain. And George's fantasy team just went down the drain. Just based on his reaction, he was like, I knew I should have traded him.
Is he on your fantasy team, George? Oh, no.
Clearly he is from his reaction.
Yeah, he's on my team.
I looked up. I was like, oh, no, did Germany allow another goal? But no, it's the fantasy team. Oh, wow, they almost did it.
I mean, sorry to Tyler Glasnow, but that was
wait a second. You took the under on the international soccer, and you had Tyler Glasnow on your fantasy team. This is not going to be a good day, George.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Should have stayed on the morning show. So Glasnow being out is certainly going to impact them. Now they're deep in arms. I mean, they have a lot of arms, and it sounds like this is not something that, at least to start, is going to be surgical. So maybe he's back before the end of the year, but I think that impacts them. The White Sox are pretty good. And Eloy Jimenez is going to start, I think, baseball activities maybe today in Arizona. So that's good news. So he could be 4 to 6 weeks before he's back, and then be able to get him into the lineup. So that's going to be a big boost right around the trade deadline for them. And they pitch very well. And, I think, San Diego's offense has scuffled a little bit this year. That's still a good team. The Giants have certainly been a surprise, but so there are some other teams that are very good, and the Rays and the White Sox have the two best records in the American League. But to me, it's still the Dodgers. They have the most premium talent. They're still pretty deep, even though they're maybe not quite as deep as they were a year ago. And I think in the end, they'll win their 9th straight division title, and they'll win it relatively handily. And we'll talk about the Dodgers in the postseason and whether or not and everybody will try and denigrate them for not winning a World Series when there was 162 games, and doing it instead of when there was 60. So, and we'll have that conversation when they get knocked out in the NLCS.
Yes, by the Cubs. By the Cubs. Yes, no. Listen, Josh, I'm here to disappoint you. I am taking a very measured approach. This is a new leaf for me. Yeah, to take a more measured approach to my sports fan.
You know what happens to new leaves, right? They turn old fast.
Oh, they do. In the fall,
they tend to brown by September.
Very interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're sad we're not going to see you, but we obviously understand. Because you need to cover a team who is trying for a major league record 22 straight road losses.
Let's hope that they're going to avoid that over the next. I mean, I'm not interested in calling that kind of history Wednesday or Thursday. So,
do you have a call? I mean, every time of, like when Doug McDermott was closing in on 3,000 points, I went through my mind all these different calls. Do you have a call for magic number 23?
I don't think I can say that on the air.
That's probably fair. All right. Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Ferrin, Sirius XM MLB Radio. We appreciate it.
So do we talk to you when the World Series is over, or are we doing something on Tuesday? I mean, I know Josh doesn't
talk
about baseball.
We have a shorter show on Tuesday, so yeah, we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Talk to you in 2 weeks.
I'll take next week off then.
Yeah. Feel free. Do something.
Don't worry. Hey, don't worry. It's paid. It's paid, Mike. You get paid time off.
It's paid the same either way.
That's right.
Beauty.
All right. See you, Mike. Take care.
Bye, Mike.
There he is, Mike Ferrin of Sirius XM MLB Network Radio.
I hate, John, when we go away from the 4-box, I hate the 3-box that you have set up right now. It's way too close.
I guess I could.
There we go.
Okay. They must have changed the settings here on the. They've added some new things to StreamYard, including much longer scroll space. So now you can read entire scripts and things like that. Nice to know, by the way, that Stibbs is paying attention to us. So
moved on for a new job, and this new job seems to be just watching us. Very interesting.
Well, remember when he said he was moving on, he said he was moving on to something that was closer to what he studied in school. Apparently, he studied a lot of couch sitting.
Oh, well, he's very good at that. But you're going to see him in a few days. I've heard about this.
I've seen this. I've heard about this.
You and Kevin, it's going to be great. You three up in the booth together with Gary down on the field, like the old days, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Like the old
like the old days, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Still to come. Josh, let's go over some of these numbers that you have produced, because Michael Brunson is going to be joining us here in about 15 minutes or so. But Josh is going to go blue chip hunting when we continue here on Unsportsmanlike Conduct and 1620 The Zone.